Hi, today we're going to talk about water leaks in the boot through the rear door of the Freelander 1. So as cars get old, this one's about 20 years, the rubber seals get a little bit old, compressed, and it's quite a complicated seal on this door because it's a frameless door. The window's got to be exactly aligned to make sure you don't get any leaks on this half. And with any seal, it's rubber on metal. There's always a possibility for a little bit of water to seep past the door seal. So one of the areas you can get water coming in is past this seal. There's a little bit of plastic here. You could have water going underneath the plastic and then into the boot floor. So you need to seal that up with preferably a little bit of polymer sealant, or you could use silicone seal, but it does tend to peel off, as has happened here. This has been done a couple of years ago. You need to redo that bit. I've just peeled it off. So the water will come down here, and then you'll also see I put this water trap. So without that, the water can run that way onto the boot floor. And on the Freelander, you've got this useful little cubby hole underneath, and that can get saturated with water and all a bit mouldy. On this one is now fine because I've fixed all the water leaks, and some of the causes we'll now discuss. So, back to making this little water channel. Made this one out of polymer sealant again. Again, you could use silicone. Just had to reseal it recently. I'd recommend taking up this plastic cover, because if you do get any water coming down the edge here, there's a very slight slope going inwards underneath, so the water will go underneath here and into the boot. So same the other side, not so much of a problem that side with water leaks. The other area on the 3-door Freelander is I've now fixed this one, but in the past I've seen little streams of water, odd little places along here. Couldn't quite figure out where it was coming in, because the metalwork of the body actually goes up on the inside and the seal and the hood goes on the outside, so it's hard to imagine the water going uphill. Well, what was actually happening is the seal, the rubber seal on the hardtop, it had a little gap. It shrunk over the years, and on the inside of the seal, which is a bit like a sort of U-bend, the water was getting onto the inside of the seal through a little gap up here, and then travelling down and then going under the main structural part, or the hard part of the roof, and it was then getting on the inside as it's making its path down the hood. And once it's on the inside of the seal, then of course it can come in on the inside of the car. So I took the hood off, pulled off the seal, put some silicone sealant or polymer sealant again on the inside of the rubber seal on the hood, reassembled everything, and that fixed the leaks from these areas. So it's starting to rain again. It's been raining quite a lot recently, and I've just noticed a little bit of a puddle here, which is a new one, and underneath I can see it dripping from this shock absorber. And when I felt up here under, or next to the little bit of plastic that seals the aperture in the door, it was a little bit wet, and I could feel that with my finger. So I think what's happened there is, as doors have been taken off, and maybe the window cable has been fixed in the past, then you tend to lose the seal between the plastic membrane that's over the door aperture and the structure, the metal part of the door. And a little bit of water is going to get past the seal on the window. Little gaps maybe open up, tiny one there already, a little bit at the end, and with the window up, the window finishes about there, and inside it'll then drip down, probably hit that plastic membrane, and then travel all the way down and come in that position where we see the leak. So what I'm going to do is take off this cover, which is quite easy because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. I think that's it. The rest of it's held in on press studs. So we just should be able to give it a yank and pull it off. So we can either reseal that plastic membrane onto the metalwork, or we could probably tuck the plastic membrane on the inside of the door so the water then goes to the bottom of the door and comes out the drain channels. Leaks are possible on any car as they get old. My daughter's Ford Focus also had a problem with water getting in the boot. But what you got to do is really look at the car after it's rained, see where the evidence of water coming into the boot is actually coming from. You should be able to see signs of water leaks. I'm not sure there's any remaining now. This car is a bit mucky now, but maybe some very old remnants of slight streaks from where it used to leak. Not anymore. So this is that panel removed. This is on the 5-door Freelander that I've just about finished renovating, apart from a bit of clean up. As you can see, it's a bit mucky. So here, yeah, if water gets here, there's a fairly easy possibility, easy route for the water to run on the inside and then get into that boot cubby hole. So what I'm going to do is run some silicone across here and just run it this side to block the path. Also pay attention to these little gaps here. Maybe put a little wall of silicone around the back and keep it to this side of the metalwork. Then the water should flow out the bottom of the door aperture. So I'm going to do the same on this car, make some little channels for diverting any water that gets past the seal out to the front of the door opening. And this also quite often happens is the plastic's been removed at some point and it's on the outside of the rubber seal, which needs correcting. That rubber seal should be above the plastic, otherwise you've got any water getting in here will just go underneath the plastic and travel into the boot as well. The other thing to check is your window is aligned properly. Again, if somebody had replaced the window cable, they may have upset the alignment of the window. So check the gap and the straightness of the window versus the edge is the same on both sides, near enough, and therefore it seats against the seal properly, and also check that it tucks underneath the edge of the door enough. Basically that is quite a good tuck under, and when you open the door then it pops down to the correct level. Any slack in the cable that moves this window can result in insufficient movement of the window. You might have a bit too much of a gap in your window. So see my other video on the channel on replacing the rear window cable on the Freelander 1. To get the screws out of this cover, they are those little star-shaped screws, and you'll need a T20 bit like this, which has a star end to it. So it's useful to get yourself a Torx, which is the type of bits, that's the name for them. A set of screwdriver bits with a screwdriver end, and the bit just fits in the end there, and you can then undo them. See the video description for some buying links on Amazon for kits, those sort of things. Alright, that's my sealant gun application, something along those lines. It's probably about right, seems to work on the other car. It's not that pretty shaped like this, but when it's dried a little bit I'll lick my fingers and try and mould it into a more consistent shape with a higher profile. This one, you can just put the cover on, and of course it'll stick the cover down but also seal it as well. Also, while I'm at it, it's probably worth mentioning that a while ago I did have a little drip from this location, which is why I put that tissue there. It's since been solved. That tissue is now bone dry. This carpet was originally getting a little bit damp. It wasn't a major leak, but worth doing something about. Left that tissue just to spot if it ever comes back. So something I did seem to fix it, but a little bit of silicone in that aperture there, I don't think made a lot of difference. I think the main part was there's probably some water channel going on inside the wing, and I just used some clear silicone sealant or polymer sealant just to seal this gap across. Doesn't make any difference to the water drainage, just goes on the outside, stops it going inside the wing. I think that may have made a difference, because I say that water leak was also stopped. But check your door alignment as well. sometimes with age the hinges can droop and you might not get perfect seal. Doors generally here are quite good because they're double sealed, so you've got a seal on the door and you've got a seal on the aperture as well, one there, one there, so not too much of a problem in that area. And that's those moulded runs of sealant. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's got enough uprightness on it that'll stop the water going across that barrier. If you want something a bit neater, I would suggest maybe getting some rubber window seal of the right sort of width and height, and maybe sticking that on instead, probably look a little bit better. But that's good enough for me. And as I say, see to stop the water getting in the boot on the other car. And to mould it into shape, you could just lick your fingers and then gently squeeze it into that shape. I had some rubber gloves on because it's very, very sticky, that polymer sealant, and kept spraying my fingers in this silicone sealant, which prevents the polymer sealant sticking to your fingers. Generally, you have to keep reapplying it now. That was a little bit easier. Okay, so I've got 3 of these screws off, and number 4 is there. You can just about get in at the right angle with one of these large Phillips types or posi drive screwdrivers. I can't remember whether that's PZ1 or 3, but the large sort. Slips my mind at the moment. I think that's it. I think. And just give it a yank, it comes off the press-on clips, and then I think we have to lift it up and it comes off like that, quite easy. So yeah, the last time the window cable was repaired, obviously all the sheet disappeared, and I'd rather roughly fitted this replacement rubber membrane. And what's happening is the water is just coming in here. So let's see where it's actually coming from. So that's been sealed, but it's just missing a little bit, yeah, around this corner piece. And you can lift it up. I don't want to break all of the sealing on it. See if we can feel what's happening. Yeah, somewhere along there. Yeah, it's dripping from the window. Can't see a huge amount, but that is certainly where the water is dripping. So what we should be able to do is really, hopefully, I'm not going to tap that in, because a little bit of water getting on here. So I'm going to break the seal so a bit more. So I did a fair bit of sealing last time with silicone seal. This tape, it's just hold it in place temporarily. You can see it's getting past the window seal. Water stains or water stains on that side of the door. I think it's getting on the cable. And must be dripping down the cable because it's wet here, and then it's coming out into the door. So let's think of a cunning plan to try and divert that into the inside of the door. Probably I've got a bit of plastic underneath that cable and routed it downwards. I think that would fix it. Failing that, we could just seal on the plastic a lot better onto the door, which would make the water build up a little bit, but at least eventually it would flow inside the door. I think we'll do both. dry it off a little bit first. All the water over here as well, so same sort of things happening. Getting on the cable and coming in. So to fix the issue of the water touching or dripping down the cable, I've got this piece of plastic wrapping material. Just tuck this up the way, stay there. It will fall down in a minute, but disconnected the cable from the bodywork. We've got that underneath. Get the wrapping underneath like that. Then we can wrap it around like that. Then any water touching the cable will hopefully then go in the channel and go on the inside of the door. I think that'll do it. I could probably even afford to clip these through the plastic, clip the cable ties through the plastic, stops it looking at too much, as even though it makes a hole in the plastic, the channel is going to be hopefully a little lower, and I'm hoping that should then allow the water to run out. So think about that like that. Then we'll just get some more sealant, polymer sealant. It's quite nice, but it's very sticky. That should fix the cable problem. Let's reseal that, stick that to the outside. I think that will stay. Certainly will once we've got our main cover back down again. Just needs a couple of blobs. That should do it. And then I think we're good to go. Shouldn't interfere with the window. Just do a bit of sealing on here to keep it in place. Where that problem area was. Now what else do we need to do? Right, now we need to reseal our membrane back on again. So let's just do a little bit of seam around the edge. And I'm going to do a nice thick bit under here. This is where it's leaking before. A double one. And then that should stop the water getting into the boot. Okay, a bit of a double one. Up to there. I think should be good. And this is a bit of a corner over here. Do that again. Sealant. Tape's not doing anything. Please see that on your hands because it's very, very sticky. It has to get everywhere. Pull that over to that one. And I think we're near enough done. Try not to block the holes where the clips go through. Alright, if that doesn't work, then obviously there's a little gap where I've perhaps haven't sealed it, but I think it should be good. By keeping the membrane tauter, keeps it away from the inside of the door, so it's less likely you're going to get drips on it as well that then travel down onto the inside of the car. The important bit of sealing is this bottom edge. So I'm just going to make sure that is sealed nicely. Belt and braces. Alright, and that's that. So then we'll just put on, we'll have it back on again. So the way these fit is, what are we recording still? Yep. It's got these clips at the top, or these pieces of plastic at the top, that have to fit down into these U-shaped pieces. This membrane I used is a bit of laminate floor underlay, but use whatever you've got handy. Any sort of plastic that's not going to biodegrade will do. So we need to get it under the rubber seal. It's on the window. And if you can't manage that, you'll have to try and pull it out afterwards, but best to try and get it under the rubber. Like that, and then we need to push it up, and then hopefully get it inside. Yep, those U pieces of plastic. So now we hinged it on the top, and just check that the pins are lining up with the holes, which I think they are. If any of them break, you can get replacement pins on eBay and the like. And then give it a whack. Pins are all aligned, I believe. That's that. And if you've got any of the membrane sticking out, you can always trim off or plug it back in again. Yeah, it's not too bad like it is. And then it's just a matter of putting the screws back in again, and that's it, job done. I might have time to tell you whether that fixes my little leak, because as you can probably hear, it is pouring the rain again, and I'll be leaving the car outside. So tomorrow we'll find out whether we've got any more water coming in the boot, and hopefully I can include that in the video at the end, which may follow shortly. Right, thanks for watching, good luck with yours, and the key is to analyse where the water's coming in. Same with any job, if you've got a fault, analyse the fault, try and get as many clues as possible, and then that'll tell you or lead you in the direction of what the solution is. Alright, so there's been a fair bit of rain last night. Let's have a look what it's like in the back. And no leaks. That's good. So that's just about covers all of the possible scenarios where you can get water in the boot and gives you hope for fixing them. And these carpets are all nice and bone dry, and whereas previously this locker used to be soaking wet, you can see from the old rust stains there. Now again it is all bone dry as well. So that's how to fix your Freelander boots if you've got water coming in. Okay, I hope that's useful for somebody, and thanks for watching. Bye.